All right, welcome back to the warehouse. We're here to walk you through an unboxing. So we're gonna unbox this here 650. And I'll kind of go through the way that I like to do it, the way I found this easiest. Okay, so first I'm just gonna kind of remove some of the loose stuff that's in the top and out of the way, or in the way, I mean. Then once I'm ready, I'm just gonna kind of grab onto it and lift it straight up. And sometimes I like to tip the box over and put my knee right here to get it to slide. I'm not sure what the easiest way really is to get it out, but that works for now.
You can always cut the front end of the box to the front side.
Yeah, lay it over. Here's the battery. So then I just want to double check, make sure I've got everything out. It looks like I'm good. Grab my Dikes, and I'm going to take off all of my zip ties. Be careful that I don't scratch the bike anywhere. I use Dikes because they're the easiest way. Got all those. All right, I'm gonna take off this loose stuff first, just the fender. And then I'll remove this wheel. Now, the crank should be in the forks just like this. And so to get it off, I'll kind of like twist it and slide it forward. And then I've got that out. And I can set that to the side for now. Then I'm kind of leaving the foam on the front here just so that it's kind of protecting the forks while I take care of the other stuff. So at this point, I'm ready to just start assembling. There's a few more zip ties I can cut here and there. But really the only other next step is just to take off all the foam. The first thing that I'm gonna put on is my handlebars. So tools I need, I've got my 4 and 5 millimeter Allen key. Your bike should come with some sort of tool, either these or it comes with a multi-tool. So
now this is important, so pay attention.
Now a lot of people kind of mess this up. Don't mess with this top bolt right here. There's no reason to loosen that or anything. In order to get this spin the right way, I'm gonna loosen these two side ones. And I don't have to loosen it very much, just enough so I can slide it.
And you're gonna spin it clockwise.
Yeah, so if I spin it clockwise, you can kind of feel it gets tight. And what's happening, this bolt right here pulls the fork up and compresses all of this right here.
So if you loosen that, you run the risk of what?
Yeah, you have a lot of play in here. And so you'll find there's like a lot of movement and the whole thing will move. But if you turn it to the right, it helps keep it tight.
It's like you're threading you're tightening the nut or the bolt that's in there. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you can even you don't want to go so tight, but you can always kind of just make sure that it's a little bit snug there. Once I've got it to where I think it's straight, usually I wait to tighten these all the way up until I have the wheel on because it's easier for me to see. But if you feel like you've got it good enough in the center to that fork, then you can go ahead and tighten these up just like so. Then I'm gonna clear off a little bit of my foam on here just so that I'm ready and my plastic, so that I can put my handlebars on. All right, so I'll loosen these up. This is a 4 millimeter right here. And you're gonna have to take all of these all the way out. And usually they've got a little bit of Loctite on them, some blue Loctite, so they'll be firm enough. Sometimes you can't quite undo them with just your fingers. So I'm just using this tool to spin them off quick.
And there is no order, so if they do fall out, not a big deal.
Yeah, it doesn't.
There's no up or down, right or left.
Exactly. It's all the same. I'd leave them in just like that so I know where to put them, and I'm just gonna set them somewhere safe for like 2 seconds. Okay, so for this handlebar, some of them, they don't give you this. I think on the 800s that they're missing it, but there should be some sort of target or arrow or lines on the front that kind of give you an idea of where to put it. There's some further adjustment you can make, but what you for sure want to make sure is that the crosshairs is center left to right. And so the easy way to do that is get this, put it back on, and you can see the crosshair through the little window. I'm just gonna start it with my fingers. And just double check, make sure you're not cross-threading or anything. All right. So you see here, I'm gonna line up the crosshairs. You want the gap to be even on the top and the bottom. So I'm feeling with my thumb, the gap, and my finger with the gap there, and kind of holding this in place. And just as as far as twisting it, I want to just have the crosshair kind of dead center. That kind of gives me a good idea. Focus. Let's see, all right. And then I just kind of slowly, I'm just using the one side right now just to kind of get it so it's, so I can feel the top and bottom that they're level. And once I do, so I'm not going tight, I'm just going snug.
Because you're going to make a further adjustment in a bit, right? With that, rolling those handlebars forward and back.
But yeah, I'll double check that once I get the wheel on, because that's when you can kind of check the level. So I'll make some further adjustments. But for right now, I'm just going to tighten this on nice and tight. Okay, so I've got that. Now I'm going to put my wheel on. It comes in the factory with this kind of bolt going through the middle. So I'm gonna get me, I believe it's a 15 millimeter. I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of loosen these up. Try my best not to scratch the paint as I do this. All right, once I do that, and that's free to just slide out. So as you notice, I didn't even have to touch the middle ones. You really just need to worry about the outside ones. Next, I gotta grab from my box, I need to get my quick release. So I'll pop open my box. Here's my tool that came with it. And here's my quick release. So there should be two springs. There's two springs there. And this nut on this end and this kind of like roundish one here. So I'm gonna take off one of the springs, and you can kind of notice this is the way they should be. So you see the fat end of the spring goes into the, like this part of the tool, part of the thing. So I'm gonna take off this one side and the spring and go over to my wheel. And now it doesn't matter which side you put it in, but we have always done it. The bike shop I used to work with, we always put it on the rotor side. So I slide that in.
Got the spring there.
Spring, and then this side. Another side, I'm gonna put this small end of the spring in first, and then put the nut on. And I'm just gonna barely start getting it threaded, because it's gotta be pretty wide to get it on the bike.
Yeah, and real quick, for those of us who are older, old enough to remember, back when I was a kid, you used to have a nut instead of a quick release, and so do not mess with these nuts. Don't loosen those at all. That's not how you mount the tire to the bike, and we've had people in the past try that. So,
in fact, that's something that you can also check. Just check with your fingers and make sure they're tight, and then make sure you can kind of squeeze them and kind of move, and make sure that you don't feel any play. There shouldn't be any clicking or clunking or moving this way. If there is, you need to tighten those up. That's what holding in all of your bearings and everything inside the hub is, these two nuts right there. So this one feels nice and tight, but it's also spins freely, so I'm good to put that on. So I'm gonna go ahead and just lift up my bike with one hand and slide that right on, just like that.
Now this one didn't have it, it probably fell out, but sometimes the brakes.
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot to check that. Yeah, it fell off in the bike, or in the box. So usually there's like a yellow spacer in between the brake pads to keep them separate, so that if the brake gets squeezed during shipping, it doesn't mess with the spacing. But this one already fell out, so I didn't have to worry about that.
So yeah, check that, make sure you get that removed.
Now what you want to do is you want to make sure that it's nice to do it when it's down on the ground like this, because you can kind of let the weight of the bike center it. But so first thing, I want to tighten up this nut now that it's on the bike. And I'm holding the bike level so that the wheel is setting nice and flat. I don't tighten it all the way tight with the nut, I want it there to be a little room still, so it's pretty flush. And then I pull this lever and I'll just set it straight up just like that. You can also push it to the side here if you wanted to, if you like that aesthetic a little bit better. But I'm gonna put it up so it's a little bit out of the way. And that's on nice and tight now. And then I can go ahead and drop my kickstand. I'm gonna finish removing my foam now. Now, the only thing left to do in my first initial assembly is I need to install my pedals. So I'm just gonna kind of spin this tire forward just because the chain was coming off a little bit there. Okay, so now I'm gonna grab my pedals out of the box and undo the wrapping on them. Ouch. Now, most of the pedals that are coming to you now should have stickers on them that show which side to go on. I'm going to tell you 2 other ways. Sometimes it's printed right here. On this one it's not, but sometimes it's printed right on this like flat part there. Or sometimes it's printed on the end. So this is an L and this is an R. See that little L there and the R. So the other way to tell is every pedal always will have some sort of line on it. The left side has the line, the right side does not. So those are the 3, I guess 4 ways. There's a sticker, it's in here, it's on the end, or you tell by the lines.
The lines, huh?
Yeah.
On the thread?
On the crescent part of this.
Okay, let me see if I can.
Yeah, there'll always be some side of, either it'll be horizontal or like it's vertical like this, or it'll be horizontal. Sometimes there's horizontal line or lines.
Okay.
And there'll be nothing
And the
on the other
last
side.
way, if all that fails, you can look at the way the threads are sloped, right?
Yep, look at the way the threads are sloped. If you kind of set them up next to each other there.
See, one slopes to the right, one slopes to the left.
So this is important because they're threaded differently, and if you put them in the wrong side, it'll destroy your cranks. The pedals will be fine, but your cranks will be destroyed and you'll have to get new ones, which is not fun. Not fun for anybody. So, easiest way to get these on, I got my right side in my hand. I'm holding on to...
And right side is when you're on the bike, facing forward, right side.
Sorry, thank you for that. So I'm holding the crescent part of this, the nut part, and I'm gonna stick it in here and just kind of spin the pedal the bike backwards. That's the way I remember how to get it on. And just like that, I just kind of go slow at the start, just so that I know that it's threading correctly, and it should just spin right on. And just like that, I've already made it to the end. I'll take my 15 millimeter. I'm just gonna tighten that nice and tight. You don't want these to be loose at all, so you can put quite a bit of pressure on there. Okay, then I'll go to the next side and I'll show you. So some people, if you were to just do it by hand, so instead of going backwards like this, you can just...
And that would be the same way you would flip that backwards and it would thread on, correct?
Yeah,
because it's reverse thread at the left side.
Yep, so always pedal backwards to take it off, or to put the pedal on. You pedal forwards to take it off. So kind of a cool trick. Now that I've got that, again, an easy way to remember where to put my wrench is I'm just gonna pedal it backwards and keep my wrench in the same spot, and I know it's gotta go down this way. So now that the wheel's on, there's 2 things I'm gonna double check up here. So first thing, I want this, see the handlebars rise a little bit here, and I want that part where it rises to be horizontal, if that makes sense. So I'm just loosening one side, but if I have it like this, you can kind of tell they're pointing that way. It's out that way now. So if I spin it back, and it's kind of pointing more straight up and down, that's about where I want it for it to be comfortable for my hands.
Well, and also when you're in the cockpit, right? When you have your arm extended, you want your arm to just flow right through that So it's a nice extension of your hand. Your hand's not crimped forward or leaning back too far.
Exactly. Yep.
So you can sit on the seat and do it that way as well.
Exactly. That's an easy way to prevent, like, you'll hear people say they've got hand pain. If your things are cranked, so what he was saying, Jeff was saying, if your hands are cranked too far forward or too far backwards, then it's going to cause your wrists are going to be put in a weird position, or it's going to make your hands go numb. So you want it to be just nice and flat all the way through when you're sitting down. The final adjustment you can make, I'm just going to leave this one here how it is, but you'll want to adjust the handlebars, and the reason I'm going to leave it, the brakes and the shifter levels. The reason I'm going to leave it is because this bike isn't for a specific person yet. But once you have your bike, you want to kind of adjust your seat to where you want it, and you're going to sit down. And I want to adjust my brakes so that they're a good level for me, for whoever's person. So if I were to kind of imagine my hand, I want this to be straight all the way through here, and I want my brake to be straight with it. Instead of, because I kind of got them down like this now, I want them to be straight. So
you would adjust the levers up, not the handlebars, but the levers, right?
Correct. Yeah, because the handlebars are already perfect. That's where I want them. So now I'd adjust these, and so this one's a Phillips. You kind of have to loosen your derailleur and your brake lever. I'm just going to kind of loosen this one up so it's free to move, and then I'll loosen my brake lever. Okay, so those are nice and loose. And so again, I'll just kind of sit down and see, and I'll pull it up. And for me, if I was sitting on the bike like this, that's right about where I'd want it to be most comfortable. It's kind of, so my hands kind of sits on it just like that.
You can see the difference versus the...
Yeah, so it used to be down here, and it kind of, when I grab it, it cocks my wrist forward. So if I bring it up, it allows me to be more straight. These are just little tidbits to kind of customize the bike to fit you better. So just make these adjustments as you feel necessary. It just kind of helps it, just makes it so you have a little bit more comfortable ride. Then I'll tighten the brake up first, and then last I'll tighten this. I just want the derailleur to be just on top there where I can get to it easy. Or derailleur, the shifter for the derailleur. Tighten that up, and good to go. So I'll adjust the other side later, but there's your first initial adjustments. And I did something bad. I sat on this tire before pumping it up. I would not recommend doing that, but I did it, so.
Fender and the light.
Okay, so for this one, now we found the easiest way to do this is, first I'm gonna loosen this, and usually you can just do it with the Allen key here. So this is a 5mm. So I just kind of pop that loose, and it doesn't really matter. So the fender is always going to go on the back of the fork here. The light, we decided it doesn't really matter, but I'm just going to put it on the back as well.
You know what's easier though with these that I found, Wyatt?
Oh yeah, go for it.
If you do these on the back first, and then you can roll the fender up. Because it's a lot easier to get those bolts in before that top one is done. Okay,
so these are 4mm. And I'm just gonna take both sides off. They're longer than I think they are. Okay, so I like to stick the bolt in here first. Stick it in whatever the circle part of that fender. And then just get started with my fingers. Do the same thing to the other side. And it's kind of hard, so because the way they're set up, that you can only like turn the tool like, I don't know, 90 degrees at a time. Okay. Let's switch this side. All right. Finally got those tightened.
Get those nice and snug.
So we got these tightened down here below. I'm gonna move up here. slide
with
this
those,
in.
Yeah, with those bolts tightened on that bottom, it puts a lot of tension on this top part. So we're gonna put the light on the front.
I'm kind of pinching it.
Yeah, just get that nut started. That's all you need, and then that tension on that fender will keep everything in place.
Then I can I'm keeping one finger on my nut, one finger on my light to keep it vertical.
You got your 5mm up.
Yep, this is a 5mm.
And then just hold the light so it's centered. And you can make the adjustments as you tighten it. And you usually don't even need a wrench for that nut on the back, just because it's
usually there's enough
so much tension
that it just holds it in there.
We're finally done.
Now we're finally done.